Okay, it's not going great. We are here baking because that is a big family tradition here. In fact, it goes way back a couple generations and probably further than that. I would say baking is like in our blood.
Yeah, well, I'd say so.
On both sides. Mm-hmm. So, but today, right now, I've been really excited to make these because so I've made them once before, but we just use this waffle iron.
Yes.
Or just a regular modern waffle iron. Because it's easier. But what we are making today are galettes. Now, it's funny because Sissy, my bass player and friend, brought over something that her and her boyfriend Justin made to our Friendsgiving party, and she called it a galette. And I knew that she was talking about something that was singular, and so it wasn't like our galettes, but it was almost like a tart where you fold just dough up over like pastry dough up over fruit. Dad, you might need to stay in closer if you can. Yeah, so they brought that, and so I looked it up, and technically the galettes that we use are called French waffle cookies.
Oh.
Yes. So it's a French recipe. The taste is hard to explain because it's not like a sugar cookie, because it calls for 5 eggs. 5 eggs. And we've got our fresh chicken eggs here. It's a different flavor. It calls for a lot of brown sugar, so it almost has that molasses kind of flavor, like that richness. But if you've never had one, you should try this recipe. It's delicious. I will share this in the description below. So, Dad, this is my dad Ernie and my mom Shirley.
Hello.
This is my dad's mom's recipe. My grandma Smith. Actually, it's Grandma Talkington.
Yes.
So my great grandma, it's her recipe.
And didn't she come over in a covered wagon or something when she moved in here?
Yeah, from Chicago to West Virginia when she was a baby, came in a covered wagon.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So that's how far this recipe may come from.
Well, the waffle iron that I will show you all here in a minute, it's dated 1908. I learned to love them through my grandma Smith made them every year. Now she's passed for quite a while, but she lived to be 95.
96.
She lived to be 96. So who knows? It could have been these galettes that gave her such longevity.
Yeah,
I mean, it could be true. I'm gonna say that maybe it was.
We should eat them.
We should eat them. Everybody should eat them. Maybe you'll live to be 90, 95 or 96 if you want to live that long. I want to show you guys this waffle iron that came from our great grandmother, and I'm actually gonna try to make these cookies on this waffle iron, and we will see what happens, because last time I tried to use it, I got the dough in there. So you get your waffle iron nice and preheated, right? And then you do like your individual scoops of your cookies. So you can really only make like 4 at a time. Right. So they take a minute, but it's worth it, trust me. But so I put the dough on there, closed the iron. This was the old one. And I think I had it greased pretty good too. Anyway, I opened it up, and the dough was like burnt to the top and the bottom, and it was bad. I don't know what I did wrong, but I immediately switched to the modern non-stick waffle iron, which I usually do not use anything non-stick because of the chemicals and the weird stuff that's in that. But for this, it's like my one exception.
Whenever my mother made these cookies, it was my job to eat them.
Yeah.
And believe me, there was none left.
It's an important job.
Yes, that's right. And so I'll have a long life.
Yeah. Okay, so what we have here is this is a Griswold brand. It's not a common thing that's left still. There's not a whole lot of them. They're pretty valuable at this point. And it's funny because as hot as this already is, these coils are really not very hot. And I'd say they heat up after a while.
Yeah, they usually stay fairly cool.
I mean, that's so cool. I mean, like, because the coils are actually outside of the metal that's connected to the actual iron. So that's pretty neat how they came up with ways around it even back then. So I'm gonna mix up these galettes now, and I have all of the ingredients pretty much already measured out to make this a shorter process. But normally I never do that, okay? I really like to find these vintage handwritten recipes because usually this is where it's at. Now, whenever I go to estate sales and stuff, I always go to the kitchen first and go find these handwritten cookbooks, or these cookbooks where these people have saved recipes from over the years. And I have found some of the coolest recipes. And they write their little personal notes in there and where they got them from. And I have found some really neat things that really are family heirlooms to other people, but for some reason, I guess they're not bakers, or for whatever reason they don't want it. So I am happy to hold on to those things for people. Whenever you have these handwritten recipes, sometimes they don't have all the instructions written on them. So you have to kind of have a base knowledge of baking and how it goes. So when you have a list of ingredients like this, I'm looking at a pound of butter, 3 cups of brown sugar, a cup of white sugar, 5 eggs, vanilla, cinnamon, salt, baking powder, 6.5 cups of flour. If I didn't already know the basics of baking, you could do something like put in your 6.5 cups of flour in your bowl and then try to put your eggs in there.
Yeah.
And mix them up and start to throw all the other ingredients. You can't do it that way. You have to have a certain order of things. Okay. My best advice is if you are a new to baking and you have one of these handwritten recipes, just go look at a basic cookie recipe, like sugar cookies, for instance. Read the instructions on there, and that's gonna pretty much tell you your basic things. Like you need to cream, what they call cream. You need to cream your sugar and your butter together first until it's your sugar doesn't have to be dissolved or anything. But for a recipe like this, where you're not cooking the batter for anything, you'll want to cream your butter and your sugar together until it's kind of fluffy.
Right.
And yeah,
you can tell when it's good mixed up.
Yeah, and this recipe calls for 5 eggs, which is a lot for a cookie recipe.
Yeah.
It calls for 5 eggs, and you'll want to add those one at a time, while you're beating it all in. So these are just things. Just do a little research. Don't be intimidated. Anyone can bake. So I'm gonna go ahead and start mixing these things together. But so like I said, we want to cream the butter and the sugar together. So this calls for a pound of butter, which is 4 sticks of butter. This is not light cooking, people. We are not calorie counting.
Wouldn't want to start with everything.
No. No. I had a nutritionist once, Dr. Greg. Hi, Dr. Greg. And he was helping me kind of learn to eat healthy in a sustainable way. And when I would just like lose 1 pound or something for for this meeting, we had a meeting every week, and I would get so upset if I would just lose 1 pound, and he'd be like, hey, 1 pound is a good amount. Like imagine a pound of butter, like losing that from your body, and that's, like this, like losing a pound of butter. So, but whenever I do a recipe like this and I'm thinking adding a pound of butter, it just kind of makes it real in your mind. But it's okay. We don't eat like this all the time. It's Christmas. So it's Christmas and it's special cookie time. I'm at my mom's house, P.S. I'm not in the camper, obviously. I come over here to do like larger baking projects because all I have in the camper is a little toaster oven, and you can't really do much in that.
No, I didn't.
So here we are. We're going to West Virginia tomorrow. I'm excited for that. We're gonna take these home with us. All right, so I've got all the butter in the bowl, and I'm gonna turn on this mixer. Now, if you don't have one of these fancy mixers, you can also use a hand mixer. I wouldn't want to do this like by hand, but you could. I mean, by hand, I mean not a hand mixer, but like mixing by hand. Yeah, that could be tricky. And it calls for 3 cups. Thank you, Mama. It calls for 3 cups of packed brown sugars, and so it may look like 3 cups, but it's kind of deceiving. So you want to put your brown sugar in there and then pack it down into your cup. And yeah. So you know how much brown sugar is in there. It's off the thingy. Yeah. Okay. Whoa. Okay. So right now I'm preheating the old waffle iron from 1908. I'm a little nervous, to be honest. This could go very badly. So wish me luck. But just in case, I have the more modern waffle iron here as a backup. And hopefully this old one works and we will get both of them going, because 4 cookies at a time for 7 dozen, do the math. We could be here till tomorrow. Okay, so while this butter and sugar is creaming together, which we made, it calls for 6.5 cups of flour, Mom. This is not all gonna fit in this bowl. You need to transfer to a larger bowl and use the hand mixer.
Yeah, I tried to put it in like that plastic.
While this butter and sugar is creaming together, you kind of want to scrape the bottom of the bowl, and I like these kind of rubber spatulas, so silicone spatulas, because it really gets all of the ingredients down in there underneath. Also, when you've got your wet batter, it makes it easier to scrape all of the batter out more easily. Yeah. I'm a really messy baker. I really like cooking or baking here or at Andy's house, Andy Vestal, and I'm gonna include some of our baking from last week.
What did you say? Turn the oven on.
What was that? Into this video as well, because we did a bunch of Christmas cookies. But I love baking in those two places, especially because here my dad goes behind us and cleans up, does dishes and stuff, and there Andy does it. So it's kind of amazing. It's kind of my dream baking situation, because I'm a messy cook. I'm a messy baker. I will dirty like every bowl in the whole kitchen somehow. I'm really not sure how I do it. It drives Jeremy crazy, but it's what I do. Stuff tastes good at the end of the day. So, side note, this apron was my grandmother's on my mom's side, my grandma Jamont. So, this recipe is from my great grandmother on my dad's side, and this apron is from my grandmother on my mom's side. So, I really enjoy using family heirlooms especially in holiday baking, because it makes me feel like a part of them is here. I have quite a few little like bowls and things like that from different family members, and I don't know, it just makes me feel like they're a part of the holiday even though they're not here anymore. And I don't know, I'm sentimental like that. Oh, and you want your butter to be softened before you start this as well. So if you try to go at this with cold butter, it's not going to incorporate well, or at all. And don't melt it in the microwave, like completely melt it until it's a puddle, because the butter needs to kind of be a consistency where it has something that's going to hold everything up, and where it's going to, instead of just like dissolving the sugar, because then your cookies are going to be too flat. I had this little extra mixing cup here because when it comes to farm eggs, your chickens want to lay in random places sometimes. Sometimes I will be doing something around the homestead and I will see what they call a clutch of eggs. When you see a group of eggs, that's a clutch. And sometimes they've just been laying over a few days, and especially in the winter like this, they're usually fine. Sometimes in the summer, they're not. And if you've never smelled a rotten egg, it's a special experience. You won't forget it if it happens to you. I have found eggs that I thought were good, and I've cracked them and they've literally exploded in my kitchen, just because the gases, but they start to rot inside and the gases build up. And so even if you have like just eggs in a basket like this, they can just independently pop at random because the gas is building up. So
That's
gross.
why it's important to crack them in another bowl.
That is why I crack them first individually into a bowl to make sure they are good. And if they're fertilized, sometimes there's a little bit of a developed chick inside. It's happened before, but I think these are all good because I did a float test. If you are not sure whether an egg is good or not, you can put it in you can submerge it in water, and if it floats, it's not good. If it doesn't, it's probably just fine. So here we go. We're gonna do one egg at a time. This is egg number 1. Ah, it's great, it's perfect. Okay. So you want to incorporate each egg one at a time so they get mixed really evenly. And this batter is going to start to get even fluffier now. All right, this one's great too. Yep. I lose count of things like really easy. That's all 5 eggs. Yeah, it's looking really good. It's starting to look kind of fluffy and lighter. Now we need to put the dry ingredients together. I already have the 6.5 cups of flour measured out. So, oh, I forgot to put the teaspoon of vanilla into the batter. That can go directly into the batter. We're gonna do our dry ingredients now. I already have the 6.5 cups of flour measured out here. It calls for a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of baking powder. So as far as spices and everything go, it's a pretty simple recipe. So a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. And the reason you want to measure out your dry ingredients separately is because you can get it all incorporated into each other so it doesn't get caught in a pocket of dough and you end up with like your whole teaspoon of baking powder just like stuck in one pocket and it doesn't get incorporated into everything. I'm making a mess. I'm gonna transfer this batter to this big bowl and gradually add in the wet ingredients to the dry ingredients. I'm gonna use a hand mixer. What?
You know where the hand mixer is.
Oh,
It's not where it always is.
she doesn't know where the hand mixer is.
It's
Okay.
handy there, but it's seems here.
Well,
It was.
I thought it was always over here.
Here either, so somebody has to be here. Here it is.
Oh,
Down
okay,
here.
okay. This thing weighs like, I would say it weighs like almost 4 pounds, maybe? It's pretty heavy. Like, I'm trying to think of like a 5-pound weight, you know, like those little hand weights. Like, that's got a good, I mean, it's a Sunbeam Mix Master and it does the job. It's kind of loud. So I will have to shout for y'all to hear me. I don't know, let's see what happens. Yay! I'm really excited for these cookies. I'm really hoping that we can get them to work on the old waffle iron because it would be so cool to take them home and be like,
Oh, gee.
these were made exactly like Grandma Smith made them. And Grandma Talkington. Fingers crossed, people. Surely we can make it work. We have to. We don't have to, but we can. We should. We will. So we're gonna just gradually add in the dry ingredients. And I'm not sure I remember that this, Mom wants me to get every little bit of batter out of there. You know,
Yes.
that's important, every little
Right. Don't wanna be
half
behind.
teaspoon of batter. Okay, that's as clean as I can get it right there, Mom.
Yes.
Yes, it's fine, okay. Just like 1.5 cups at a time. This thing is like, but it still works, you know what I'm saying? Like, you buy a new one today and it's good for maybe a year or 2. the burning smell. Okay. You can do it, honey. You got this. Just a little more flour. Don't quit on me now. Workout. You guys can see what it looks like. Oh. Yeah. Oh my goodness, you guys. I'm gonna scrape the bottom a little bit.
I think you got that.
Well, there's some flour and stuff that didn't quite get mixed in. I'm thorough. I always get worried that like there's like a pocket of baking powder or something, because
You wouldn't do it.
no. Because have you ever done that? Have you ever like bit into a cookie
Oh, no.
and
No,
yeah.
that would be bad.
I mean, of course, it was nothing that I baked, but you know, somebody else did it. That's a little trick you can do to get the batter off of your beaters here. You just kind of, you want to keep it below the edge of your bowl still, but let them kind of run above the batter a little bit, and it kind of comes off your beaters a little bit, so you don't have to scrape as much off. This thing worked real hard now.
Well, see, it worked. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe not the next time, but it was.
It may never work again.
No, we'll have.
I smell burning electric for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the moment of truth. It's been preheating for a little bit. It was very hot for a minute, and then I turned the fire down. Fire. Well, I don't know what's about to happen. I'm a little scared. I'm a little nervous because for this to for it to burn onto this, it's gonna have to then cool down, and we'll have to scrape it off, and it's a whole thing. So we have this cooking spray here, which I also don't usually use cooking spray, but in this case, again, trying to make this go right. So I'm just gonna give it a little spritz. Maybe a lot. Here's my nice big bowl of dough. Ugh. You could use an ice cream scoop as well, I think.
Oh, but you could. Yes, that's a good idea. We just saw that. Yes.
Okay, but does this just sit like this? It does.
Yes.
Okay, like that much? Like that? I'm experimenting.
Yes. You gotta try it at least once.
Oh, guys. Okay, we're just gonna do one, because if it's bad, I don't want it to be bad times 4. You know what I'm saying? Now, how long?
It's up again.
Hmm.
Depending on how hot your ass is cooked.
Okay. Well, I guess now we wait.
Yes.
Yeah, you flip that over after so long.
Oh,
You wanna stop?
yeah. Okay, so I should be timing this. I'm bad about timing things, people. Time yourself. Wait, how long? I don't know. It's being heated from below right now, so this actually lifts up and turns. So at one point I need to flip it over so the other side bakes evenly. It's gonna be fine. I'm really scared. 44 seconds.
Supposed to turn it over.
In 44 seconds, 43 seconds, 42, 40 seconds, 33 seconds. I mean, it was just really bad last time I tried this.
Oh, did it?
It stuck really bad. It was just bad. And I wanted to do it on this thing so much. It was like almost the whole point of doing it because I wanted to use this. May actually have, she very well could have. I was not timing this turn. This is what I just told you. I don't time things.
Well, let's look.
I'm afraid to, but if you look too soon, it'll.
Then we know we didn't leave it set long.
I didn't time it. I was talking. I didn't time it. I told you I did that. Just say I did. I do this. Okay. All right.
Now it's just myself. I'm gonna see what.
Ah, it's sticking.
Oh, is it?
Too hot.
It's too hot.
Okay. I don't think it was.
Did you turn it over?
Yes, I turned it over. Dad, you said you never made them, so why are you saying you know?
Oh, I know everything.
He knows everything.
Well, turn it up a little.
Ugh. I really want to bake these cookies in this waffle iron. Okay,
Try them on the waffle iron over here.
so we're gonna do the modern version right next to the original version. We're gonna make them here in this waffle iron too because I know it works, and also 4 at a time with 7 dozen cookies will take a while.
Trial and error.
Trial and error. Maybe more error. Why is it trial and error? Why is it not trial and success?
No, that's just kind of the way it works, I guess.
All right. That seems like a lot of batter.
That doesn't make some nice size, or you're going to eat so many if they're good in size, good big.
Right. Right. That's not true. That's false news.
It's smoking again.
It's smoking. All right.
Now, I can imagine she had to get it at the right temperature before she could start.
It tastes good.
Yes. Good. Well, good. I'll be good. Just.
We didn't time this. I'm gonna try again. We'll see what happens. Okay. It's not going great. I have tried like 4 or 5 different times, different ways, different heats, different lengths of time on the iron, and it just sticks every time. I don't know what to do at this point. I mean, my basic knowledge of cast iron, once it gets to the right heat, it's like natural nonstick. So I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong, other than maybe I'll turn this is kind of like my last try, because we have a lot more cookies to make, and it's just not, this may be something that I just have to research further, and I'm just this, I don't know. I get things in my head that I want to do things a certain way, and when it doesn't work out, I get frustrated. But Mom's modern way is going really well. She's got them cooking over here on this regular waffle iron. Dang it! Well, Grandma, I tried. Really tried. Should have wrote down instructions. Well, Mom's modern version is doing great over here in her new waffle iron, so at least there's that. They taste the same because they're cooked in the waffle iron. They still have that nice crispy outside. So I need to count my wins where we get them. All right, now I need to go scrape this burnt cookie off of this waffle iron, so I'll be back. All right, so the old-fashioned Galette iron did not go so well. I tried even one more time after that. I used a lower heat, and it still didn't work. So I'm gonna just keep going with stuff that I know works. So here I have some shortbread dough that I made before with my friend Andy. And we quadrupled the recipes, so we have a lot. And so I'm just cutting these out into some cute shapes. Actually, I have this cool cookie press. These actually came out pretty good, these pine cones. And here's a little Christmas train that I have. That turned out okay. All right, well, as you can see, I don't know if you can see, it's dark outside. And we've been baking for a while. These are some sugar cookies that we did. They always turn out really good. And we made a ton of galettes. I think we have like a humongous container just full. I made some shortbread cookies, which they turned out really good too. And I've got gingerbread in the oven right now. So, oh, and this is how the gingerbread cookies turned out that were in my little pine cone press. Are those not the cutest? I'm so excited about those. And you can sprinkle just a little bit of powdered sugar on so it looks like there's snow on them. I mean, how cute is that? But I hope you all have a great Christmas, a great holiday season, and take care. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Can I have a cookie or two? I have some more things I need to... I mean, we have plenty of cookies, right?
Yeah, we do.
I might have a couple.